Hello and welcome to episode 40 of Intruder. Theatre in the making. Is it still theatre in the making, or is it screenplay in the making? That's the title of this podcast episode. My name is Remi Rachuba and thank you so much for tuning in. For those of you who have tuned in for the very first time, in the podcast I document the journey of my solo play Intruder Intrudes that I've been developing since 2009, writing it, producing it, performing it. I premiered it at Summerhall at the Edinburgh Fringe in 2022, and I've been performing it since then. Quite recently in Vilnius, Lithuania, at a theatre festival, and soon, that is March 2025, I'm going on a big tour of Scotland. So very exciting. And today, in the morning, I received some very good news that I received funding from Adam Mickiewicz Institute in Poland towards transport and travel costs of Intruder Intrudes in Scotland. So great day, and I'm very, very excited and relieved. Great day today. Now, that's everything theatre-wise I'm going to touch upon in this podcast episode, because in episode 40, I am going to talk about adapting, my play into a screenplay and how that came about and what's been happening. I don't think I'm going to do it all in one episode, maybe 2 episodes or even 3. I actually recorded a podcast episode yesterday and it was about 50 minutes, and still I missed certain things and it was only half of what I wanted to talk about. So I think there could be a couple of episodes on adapting the play. So let's see how it goes and where we are with this episode. So let's kick off. So as some of you may remember, the last performance of Intruder was in April 2023. I did it at Camden People's Theatre, and to be quite honest with you, I was quite tired because it seemed to me that I had been performing the play for 8 months. Yes, I premiered it in August 2022, and then I was giving 1 or 2 performances a month, Polish language version and English language version, because the play has 2 language versions. Now, of course, every time I performed it, I needed to go into rehearsals and refresh what I did. So yes, every time I did it, it was back to square one, back into rehearsals, performance, break, rehearsals, performance. So in April, when I did my final performance, I was tired. So I really needed a break, and it seemed to me like the Fringe lasted for 8 months. And it was only then when I think a window in my head opened that potentially I could write a screenplay based on it, and I will talk about it now. So in episode 2, Influential Filmmakers, and I think episode 11, Nocturnal Animals, I touch upon 3 filmmakers that had a big impact on the structure of the play, which is non-linear. So the first film that I remember seeing that had patchwork structure was Magnolia, directed by Paul Thomas Anderson, and I absolutely loved that film. And I always thought that, when I started writing Intruder Intrudes, although I didn't think it would be a play, I thought, if I ever write it, I want it to be something that I like. So that was the reason why the play has a structure as it has. Another film that came out when I was developing it in Glasgow at the Arches, I think it was 2009 or 10, was Inception, directed by Christopher Nolan, because if I remember correctly, it's a story within a story. So also Intruder at that time had the structure of story within a story. It has to some extent, but it's changed now. And then in 2017, I went to see Nocturnal Animals by Tom Ford. And literally, when I was watching that film, I just had the moment when I thought, oh my God, that is the structure of my play. Because I couldn't I didn't know how to redraft it. I liked it, but there was something that just didn't feel right. And then when I saw it, I literally went home. It was a Friday, and I redrafted it and submitted it for BBC Open Call, and then it was in the final shortlist of the BBC Writers' Room, which was very, very exciting. So for me, when I was writing the play, there were certain scenes that seemed very filmic to me. I had an idea how to maybe do them, or I had these images in my head. But of course, I never thought that I would be even thinking of writing or adapting it into a screenplay until April 2023. And I often said in the podcast that I think for me it has worked so far that whenever I go and see a play or a film or watch TV or go to a museum or see a piece of art, a painting, I am inspired by certain things, and I always think that it's important for people, creatives, to go and see other pieces of art, because then we develop our taste and we know what we like and what we don't like, and we can see how other people did it. So the structures of these three films, and probably more, but I just recall these films have helped me with the structure of Intruder. So just a little bit of a pre-introduction about what I'm going to talk about. So then I read somewhere that they were making a TV series based on the play Baby Reindeer. So now Baby Reindeer, a hugely successful TV series, written, produced, and starring Richard Gadd. And it came out this year in March, April. So I read about it last year. I think it was on IMDb Pro. I don't know, I was just looking at something and I saw that they were making a television series based on the play. I had heard of the play. I never saw it. I didn't know what it was all about. But I just remember the thought that, they're making a TV series based on the play. And of course, I remembered Fleabag, hugely successful TV series, written, also starring, and I think produced by Phoebe Waller-Bridge. So then I thought, so another solo show that is being adapted into a TV series. That's very interesting. And that really made me think, opened the door for me, and I thought, maybe I could adapt Intruder into a TV series, but I didn't really know how to go about it. I don't really know how things work, what you do, where do you even start? No idea, clueless, really. And then I thought, I of course looked at, who was producing Baby Reindeer, and then I saw that the person who was producing it, or the play, I had met them at Summer Hall in 2022, the venue where I was performing my solo play. So they had the show on, a different show on, and once we met in a room, I think downstairs, and I just said hello, and that was really it. So then I thought, okay, well, maybe, I don't know, maybe I could ask Richard Gadd. Maybe he would have some ideas or some tips or advice on, where you even start with the TV series. What do you actually do? So I emailed them, the producer, and I asked whether it would be possible to forward my email to Richard. I normally, if I don't know someone, I wouldn't be asking them for an email address. Or if I barely know someone, I think it's nice to ask to forward my email to them, and then if they feel like it or they have time, they can always respond. If I know someone very, very well, then I can ask them kindly if it would be possible to receive some contact details for them. But most of the time I ask someone to forward my email to them. So that's what I did. And then I don't know whether I didn't hear from them for quite some time, and potentially a month later, because I didn't hear anything. I'm thinking that's what happened. I followed it up and I asked whether there's been any news from Richard. And I think then they emailed me, the producer, and said that Richard said that he's very busy and he would respond when he can. So that's what I remember. So that's one piece of the puzzle for the time being. So it was April, May. I then thought, the story takes place in Poland. It starts in Poland, then of course it moves to Scotland. So maybe I could be looking at some Polish producers who would be maybe willing to tell me how it all works, a film production. So I was in touch with a Polish film director who directs TV series and feature films, and I had been in touch with him before, and I emailed him and I asked I knew who the producer was, but I asked him whether it was possible to receive the producer's email address. Now, I only asked for the email address because we had been in touch quite a few times before. So yes, the Polish director sent it to me, and then I emailed the producer. We exchanged phone numbers, and then when I was in Poland, I think June, July, I had a phone call with them, and we briefly talked about film production. I was telling them about the series, what's it about, and they said to me that, I think a very important thing would be for me to prepare a pitch, like one pager, and I really didn't know. I have heard of it before, but I didn't really know what it was. So I asked them if they had some examples, and they said, it's a pitch is a very personal thing, so they couldn't send anything to me. And the pitch, one pager, is like a short document where you describe what the series is about succinctly, like the feel, something about it, why you're passionate, about the series. It has a special layout, so you really want to make sure that the pitch stands out, it's interesting, exciting, so whoever reads it, they are excited about that. So I didn't know how to write one, and then when we finished the conversation, I asked them if I could email them whatever I had, so that they could help me or give me some tips and advice, a piece of advice on what I did, and they said sure. So I came to London feeling very reassured that, okay, well, great, I will work on it, I will work on the pitch. And I did write something. I only looked at it recently, and it wasn't that exciting, to be quite honest. I wrote what I felt the one-pager should have. Yeah, and I think I might have sent it to them, but I didn't hear from the producer. And actually, it's been quite some time since I heard from the producer. So I did send them quite a lot of emails, and to be quite honest, it was only a month ago, so November 2024, when I heard from them, since the moment that we spoke, and that was June, July 23. So a year and a half passed. Yeah. Now I'm just saying it as an observation. They might have been busy, they might have been, and probably they were producing another series. So yeah, but this is just to let anyone know that it's not always easy to get a reply from people. So yeah, but I didn't know it at that time. Now in hindsight, I can say that's what happened. So came back to London, thinking of writing the one-pager. Also, I think it was quite some time since I emailed the producer of the play Baby Reindeer, because I still didn't hear from Richard at that time. So I emailed them again asking whether there's been any news, and then I didn't hear anything. So that was the end of July. So no info. So no info from the Polish producer, no info here. And I'm only saying it that, it's you just need to be patient. You just need to be patient, and perseverance will pay off at some point. And what is meant is meant, and the universe, as I often say, if it's meant, will make it happen. But in July 2023, there was nothing going on, and then I just thought, okay, well, I need to do other things, and focused on the screenplay. And it was also around that time that I found out about three submission windows. And what I mean by submission windows is sometimes theaters or production companies have a period, 3 weeks, a month, where you can submit to them your work. For example, a play or a screenplay, and then you send it to them, they read it, and then they give you feedback, and I'm going to talk about it in a second. And there were three, two by the BBC. One was called Pilot and Open Call, and the other one was Channel 4's screenwriting program. Now, some of you might remember in 2017, I actually talked about it at the beginning of the podcast. I submitted my play to the BBC Writers' Room open call, and then it was in the final shortlist. Now, it was extremely helpful when it was in the final shortlist, because then I can use the information, for example, on a poster when I email people, and I can say that, well, I've been saying that Intruder Intrudes was on the final shortlist of BBC Writers' Room drama, because that was the case. So different programs have different benefits. Now, the programs that were about to open, so they were coming up, a BBC pilot, the deadline was the end of September, and they only wanted screenplays of minimum 50 pages. That's a lot. Then there was BBC Open Call for screenplays, plays, and other forms of writing, I think minimum 30 pages. And Channel 4 screenwriting program, very prestigious program, they only wanted 20 pages, and the deadline was, I think, the end of October. So different deadlines, different months, different requirements. Now, with the BBC, what happens is, with the pilot, BBC pilot, they wanted a screenplay, and then BBC Open Call, any other form of writing. Now, with the BBC, that you progress in, it's not a competition. I don't know. I don't think competition is the right word. I don't know. It's a program maybe where they select pieces of writing that stand out to some readers, because it's all subjective. Everyone has a different opinion, but some people will connect with some work and some wouldn't, and that's how it is. Now, with the BBC, you progressed, so you went to the long list, and then you go to the short list, and then it was in 2017, but now they can select you to a group of writers, a regional group of writers, where you work with the team for, I think, half a year or even longer. And there is, I think, groups of writers in Wales, in London, South, East. And I think it's a great thing that you can spend some time and be mentored or meet other creatives. I think it's great. So as far as I know, BBC does that. And from these programs, they select people for one of their programs. I don't really know whether that was the case with the BBC pilot program, but definitely BBC Open Call, I think that's how writers are selected for these groups, and I think it's quite a lot of writers, to be quite honest. With the Channel 4 screenwriting program, as I said, very prestigious, it's like a drama school for screenwriters, like on audition. Yeah, that's what I can say. So they select normally, I think, 12 screenwriters, and then they attach them to a script editor, and then I think they are paid to write a pilot for a new series. So each of the writers works on a completely new series, then they submit it. And I think it's a great thing. I've been trying to get on it for many years, I think 5 times at least, but didn't get selected. Even this year I subbed, but yeah, I didn't get selected. But it's fine. It is what it is. So last year I saw these 3 submission windows, and I wasn't sure whether, I was just going through it, whether I should or I shouldn't submit, or because I knew it, 50 pages of script is quite a lot. So I thought, if I submitted for BBC pilot 50 pages, then I will have 30 pages, and I will have 20 pages for the rest of the other submission windows. But 50 pages, that was quite a lot. The good thing was that I had my play, my source material, and I could always look at it and think of, well, what am I going to do? But I remember in August of last year, I started looking at certain scripts, and there is a lot of resources. As an actor, of course, I get scripts, or maybe a couple of pages of a script, so I would have been familiar with what a script looks like, and exterior, interior, but you still write your own screenplay, so it's not that straightforward. And I remember that I started writing a couple of pages here and there, but most of the time I really did a lot of research. And on BBC Writers' Room, there is loads of scripts, or even now there are loads of scripts available where you can just Google title of a film, and then you can you can find the script. I normally save these scripts or have a special doc, like a document, where I post the links, so it's quite handy, and then I can quickly click on the link and see the script, or I print certain pages just to have some reference point. But I remember that I was doing a little bit of writing in August 2023, but mostly looking at certain bits and bobs in other scripts. For example, how do you write montages, or how do you write flashbacks, or how do you write dates or places? That's interesting, because different scripts have different ways of presenting it. So I did a little bit of research on it, and of course, because I go to the cinema quite a lot, I thought, oh, this would be great for this sequence or that sequence. I don't know, it's just certain scenes that I always remember. Like, one of my favorite scenes is a montage sequence from Up in the Air, this film with George Clooney and Vera Farmiga, this kind of documentary style. So then I remember that, and I looked it up, how that was written, and I printed it. So I have some kind of a reference book or a document where it's there. So it's like a shorthand, and I look at it. And that's what I did in August. A very good website I wrote, where I looked things up, was Studio Binder. Quite a lot of resources with a lot of film clips. I often check that. So August was spent mainly researching and doing a little bit of work on the screenplay. But interesting thing happened. So, as I was saying, in the previous episodes, I did a voiceover for a band named Wojtek, this Polish-Scottish animation, and it was amazing. It is amazing to be part of it, and it's receiving so many awards. It's just unbelievable. It's a great film, and to some extent, the film, it's like Intruder, Intrus, and a band named Wojtek kind of go together to some extent in Scotland. I mean, a band named Wojtek is getting so many awards, but what I meant was that story set in Scotland and a Polish person, and here we have this bear in Scotland. And when I was in Edinburgh, there was a little bit of a presentation of the film at the Edinburgh International Film Festival. So that's what I mean. I mean that kind of went parallel to some extent, and it's still going together, because it was presented in Perth, the film, and that's where I'm going in March. And even today I found out that when I'm in Inverness in March, there will be the screening of the film before Intrus, and the team worked on it, and the theatre producer Susie, she emailed me and she asked me if I would be happy to introduce the film before my performance 2 hours later after the screening. So I said great. So that's what I mean, that we kind of go together, which is amazing. But last year, the director of the film messaged some creatives, and it was on Twitter. And then when I saw the group message, I was looking at who is in it and like in the film, and then I saw Richard Gadd. And then I was then thinking, oh, I know that name from and then it dawned on me. Then, oh wow, oh my God, Richard Gadd, that I had been trying to email and get hold of, he was part of Wojtek, the animation. It was the first time that I just realized that we both of us worked on the same film. We had recorded the voiceover I did in 2021, and and I didn't know anything about it until that message. So I then saw that the premiere of the animation would be taking place in Edinburgh at the end of August. So then I was thinking, okay, wow, great. It's the premiere, big thing, quite a lot of people involved in the film, and loads of wonderful creatives, Polish and Scottish, great. And Richard, he's part of the film, so I will definitely meet him there. But what happened at the premiere and what happened with my writing and the screenplay, that's going to be in the next episode of Intruder. Screenplay, maybe let's put it this way, screenplay in the making, and I'm calling it screenplay in the making because I am recording these episodes working on the screenplay. That's what's coming in episode 41. I did one take of this recording. I didn't want to stop it, so I'm really, really sorry for any slips of tongue or pronunciation errors. It was just as it was. So hopefully I'll speak to you in episode 41. Thank you so much for tuning in. Bye for now.